just show up with it, and I was just on a tear for a while. I was like, Twitter will fix it! And actually, like, a lot of times people thought I was nuts, but you know, I was looking at artists much larger and technically more organized than me, not being able to get as much done as quickly because they weren't going directly to their fan bases for answers and solutions. And I was like, you guys are fucking crazy. You've got 500 people outside standing in line. Why are you sending a runner from the club to go across town to buy you batteries? Like, send someone outside. They're bored and they're waiting. And I was literally just in real time with my fan base saying, this is what I need, this is what I need, can you go get it, can you do it, can you help me? And everyone out there was going, yes, yes, we will. And all of a sudden I was just realizing life was becoming easier, faster, and cheaper because I was harnessing the power of the people who were excited and willing to help. And so I had my fans feeding me and my crew, housing me and my crew, and I was saving tens of thousands of dollars on the road. And granted, I needed a staff to help me literally run my Twitter feed and my blog, but even that was more inexpensive than, you know, than the traditional way of doing things. And really watching that work on the road in the last year has been a mind-blowing experience, and I've been sharing my experience with other bands and saying, you know, you may think you need a large promotional old-school machine of management and promoters and agents to do all this stuff, but a lot of it you really can do yourself if you have a small fan base that's devoted to you.
Well, speaking of the traditional route, Ted, you've worked with major labels, you've worked without major labels, and you've worked with some huge heavy-hitting acts before. How are you utilizing Twitter and tools like it?
I just go buy ads in Rolling Stone because those are really effective. Really effective to spend 20 grand for a full page in Rolling Stone. The artists that I advise, most of what I do, what Tag Strategic is we do digital consulting for companies that are trying to use music to create an audience. But I also got involved with a couple artists because I shoot my mouth off about what I think works, and I figured if I worked with a couple artists, I could actually find out if I was wrong. And I did learn quickly some of the things that I thought you might refer to as digital stunts. Getting a feature on MySpace Music or getting a feature on iTunes or whatever. Those things are all great individual moments, but if you don't string them together correctly, it's a firecracker going off somewhere. It doesn't really mean anything. So, having gone the big route, literally you mentioned Prince. Years ago I was here with Public Image, Johnny Rotten. We went to a baseball game down the street. And then it was getting an article in the Boston Globe and going by BCN, which I understand is gone. I didn't know that. And now it's about, utilizing, as Amanda said, utilizing your fan base and reaching out to people. And not only being a voice for yourself, but being a voice for other artists that you like. And some of the things that we see that are really effective are when somebody, when an artist turns people on to other music that they like. So really helping, without being trite, lifting all boats. So when Jeff had me speak at one of the first conferences in New York a couple years ago, there was an artist that Jeff Jones mentioned that had 500,000 Twitter followers, and all he started doing was tweeting, buy my record, buy my record, buy my record, and his audience shrunk overnight to like nothing. So it's not it's not a pure commerce route. You got to create a dialogue. You got to create actionable things. One of the best moments I had earlier this year was at South by Southwest, when for the first time, it was her right here. She started sending me direct messages saying, you've got to come to this club to see
Jill
Barber, who was brilliant. And if you don't know who Jill Barber is, check her out. But it was 12:30 at night. I was torn between watching a Law and Order rerun or going to hear some more music. She and her friend Rinda Laurel started tweeting me individually going, get over here, get over here. At South by Southwest, if you're familiar with Austin, all the clubs are like basically in a 3-block radius from like this building. And you could see where your friends were. You could see what was going on. There was only 20 people in the room, but I felt like one of the 20 luckiest people in Austin. So, following people getting people to follow you that are influencers, really critical, and having an honest dialogue.
Now, Ariel, you've been, I love your nail polish, by the way. It works
always
rather
match.
nicely.
We always match when we speak together.
I've just got a top coat.
Yeah. Well, you've been working with artists who have never had, well, some of them have never had a budget, never had, major label support, that kind of thing. And how has this been working for you and the people that you work with?
So my book is called Music Success in 9 Weeks, and it has nothing to do with music. It has to do with taking yourself actually out of your music head and applying basic social media tactics and traditional marketing tactics, which, unfortunately, it's very intuitive to someone like Amanda and very not intuitive to your average artist who did not get into the music industry or into playing music to market themselves. And so my book and my firm and pretty much everything we do came out of utter frustration of trying to explain to artists that it's one thing when you hire someone onto your team to do something, like Ted can call in a favor at MySpace and get his artist on the front page. If that artist doesn't take responsibility and follow up, nothing will happen. And so we take artists through a pretty rigorous conversation if they'll engage us with it and say, look, it's now up to you. The cavalry ain't coming. There is no magical fairy godmother or father of the music industry, as my friend Derek Sivers always says, and you have to be responsible. And it's not intuitive to understand how to have meaningful two-way conversations from behind a computer screen when your brain is wired to connect your art in person or in other ways. So that's what we're about. And yes, we do work with a lot of emerging artists. Many of them never really get out on the road. Some of them never leave their homes. But
I leave my home.
Yes, but only with that ankle bracelet.
Many of them don't have the opportunity to get on the road and do large-scale touring. They're local or regional artists, and it's teaching them how to connect with more and more people so that they can get to where they want to go.
Yeah, I found that the best strategy, as far as as you could probably tell, I'm like a minnow among sharks up here. I'm practically a nobody in comparison, but there's a very brief period of time, and this is true whether you're an artist or a startup company or even a major corporation. There's a brief period of time when somebody first discovers you. They've never heard of you before, and they might mention you on Twitter, on Google, on Facebook, whatever. You have a short ticking clock to get in touch with that person and say, hi, thank you for saying these things about me. Thank you for saying, oh, I found this video on YouTube, I really liked it, or I heard this person on Pandora. Before they go back to never knowing who you are again. And if you can engage with that person immediately in that very short window, it's the start of a relationship. And you can nurture that relationship, but you have to be there to sort of scoop it up when that person is already engaged in it. And that's the biggest benefit that I've found from Twitter.